Way to stay 18 forever. I met a man on the subway one day. He seemed normal enough. We each had a long ride ahead of us, and the carriage stayed empty, so we got to talking. The first thing he asked, after noticing the ring on my finger, was, "Married?" To which I nodded quietly. He smiled and coughed unevenly before replying, "It won't always be easy. Me and my Delia have 50 years now. Never was easy." "How did you folks meet?" The man must have had trouble hearing me. Old age had not treated him kindly. Jowls developed and sunk so low past his jaw that they reached past his chin. Wisps of white hair clung to his ears and nose in unfashionable clumps. His very voice sounded drowned and beaten in the mud. "I didn't get you?" he asked while joining the booth next to me. Then he stuck out a liver-spotted hand. "Marvin." "Matt, a pleasure to meet you." I asked, "How did you folks meet?" Marvin smiled again and took a look out of my passenger window. "At a bar, of course, a story as unoriginal as any other," he chuckled. "But there was nothing unoriginal about her dress. What do the kids call it? Fire. If there was one word to describe Delia in 1953, it would be fire. She was 18 and far from in between, let me tell you." Marv tapped his cane excitedly. "You know what, kid?" he asked. "I'll let you in on a little secret." I laughed. "Oh yeah? What's that?" "She's here right now." I smiled nervously and looked around the cabin. It was empty. Marvin chuckled again and patted me on the back. I felt the hair on my neck stand up and straighten uncomfortably at the contact. Something about close quarters with strangers and suddenly schizophrenic train-side confessions made me squirm. "You must find me a loon," he whispered with a toothy, or toothless, grin. "Go on, say it." He paused and attempted his best Valley Girl accent. "Say, oh Marv, you're such a loon." I don't know if you've ever heard an old man trying on a teenager's voice. It did nothing to calm my nerves. "Marv, there's no one else on this train but us." He grinned again. "I don't mean physically, of course. But she is here. She's wearing that red dress again. Same as the day we met." I began to wonder why this man would even tell me this. Surely this had to be his delusion. But why share it with me, a random fellow traveler? "He doesn't believe us," Marv concluded with lightning-fast anger. "Show him, D." A ticket checker from the transit system happened to be walking by. After a tap of Marva cane, the woman fell and smacked her mouth against the metal table. She ran away crying in a heap of blood. "Again?" he asked. I shook my head aggressively. But Marv tapped his cane once more. The lights to the cabin flicked back and forth. The door slammed shut and open. A horrific ringing filled my ears so loud that I had to scream and beg for it to stop. "Why?" I asked deliriously. "Why do this to me?" Suddenly everything stopped. The lights turned back on. The same ticket checker showed back up with a bandaged lip and nose. "You're married," Marv whispered. "You may need to know what I know one day." "What?" I asked exasperatedly. "My wife and I were together over 50 years before she passed. I don't want to live in a world without her. I don't understand anything without her. I want to live in a world where we are like that night at the bar. Crazy, free, mischievous, and 18 forever. And as far as we know, there is only one way to do that." The train bell rang. Lancaster Street. Marvin got up slowly and pointed to the sign, indicating that this was his stop. Truthfully, I was half glad to be free of the loon. I waved lazily and returned to my book. But I watched him exit the train through my window. I watched him collect his belongings and straighten his tie on the platform. I watched him lean forward and look down the opposite track. And I could swear, a woman in a red dress appeared by his side. Then I watched him spread his arms and jump in front of an approaching train with a perfectly elegant dive.